And we are live on Google Plus now.
Okay, so I'm trying to work all these damn windows again.
No worries. I'll just say hey everybody and welcome. Sorry, no video right now. Had some intermission user error going on there, but welcome to the Open Masterclass episode. So it looks like Bradley's got things sorted out. So Bradley, I'll let you do the introduction.
Yeah, okay, so today we're going to talk about outsourcing, growing, and scaling your business. And let me switch over here to the events page, and then I've got a presentation slides that I'm going to be going through, guys, and we've got a lot to go through, so we're going to try to get through it very, very quickly. And essentially, just so you guys know, the actual slides that we're going through are, let me give you a little bit of background so you guys understand. Outsource Kingpin is a product that we just launched yesterday. Right now it's incredibly inexpensive. It's only $47, and so it's a product that we developed specifically for how we set up our process from hiring, screening applicants and hiring outsourcers all the way through training and managing them. And we went from just the 5 of us that are partners in this business about 2 years ago to now over 25 full-time employees, or outsourcers for that matter. And so, we've really fine-tuned and honed in this process, and so that's what Outsource Kingpin was developed. It was based upon that process, and so we're going to go through the actual slides presentations today from what's in the training. We're going through they haven't been modified at all, other than I added the Semantic Mastery logo to them. So you guys are getting the whole slide presentation from what's inside the training course. Obviously, the training course is a hell of a lot more in depth because I drill down on each topic a lot more and go into a lot more detail. So if you want the full training plus the scripts and the example funnels that we set up and all that kind of stuff, you'll have to purchase the product, which is at outsourcekingpin.com. Again, that's outsourcekingpin.com. But in the meantime, we're going to go try to get through this presentation as quickly as possible. If there's any questions, post them on the events page, and we'll try to get to them at the end if there's any time left. Okay? And guys, this is not a pitch webinar. Again, if you want to purchase the course where we go into in-depth about every single part of this, then do it. But I think you're still going to get a lot of value out of this anyway. So stay to the end, check it out, and if you have any questions, post them on the events page, okay? That said, let me grab the screens, put everything on the correct slides, and then we'll get into it. Okay, you guys can't see that though, can you? Shit. Let me...
Yeah, we got the black screen again.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's see, how are we going to do this? Just give me a minute, guys. Let me stop. This is difficult because I haven't done this yet with a presentation with the Facebook Live thing. So
while Bradley's doing that, if you guys, hey, everybody who's watching, I'm personally curious, and I think this would help us too. Just put down in the event page there in the little text box, tell us if you have outsourcers or not, and if you've worked with them or not. So just type that in there, do you have outsourcers, yes or no, and have you worked with them? Thanks.
All right, I think we can do it this way. So let's see. Try it one more time.
We should get an outsourcer doing this, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Practice what you preach, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it might be possible. I might have to run this off of VPS sooner or later.
How do you make a Firefox, like, open window? Let's see. Let me just add a new one. Just give me a second. Firefox 2. Sorry, guys. This is some growing pains. Just bear with me for 1 second. We are trying to simulcast on 2.
That's right. Every time I try to do live streaming on more than one source, I end up feeling like an infomercial. Like, does this ever happen to you? And just like I feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So
okay, I think I got it. Can you guys on Facebook?
I'm still seeing you, but let's see. Facebook might be different.
On Facebook, it should be correct now.
Yep, you're good. I'm seeing your slides.
The big Outsource Kingpin slide?
Yep.
I wonder why that is, because that wasn't supposed to be there like that. Oh, you know what I did? You dummy. 1 more second, guys. Bear with me. I promise you we're almost there. Come on. Google Drive. All right, 1 more second, guys. I promise.
We all know that Bradley's really shutting down the
There we go.
Windows,
I got it now. Go to present. Sorry about this, guys. If we see, I should have listened to Adam and hung up on Hump Day Hangout sooner, and we would have had this all set up.
Don't worry, my nagging will intensify in the future.
Okay, let me try this one more time. See, we're going to change the settings here. That's it. We got it. Okay, you guys should be good on Facebook. So now I'm just going to switch it over to Hump Day Hangouts, or excuse me, Chrome, and we're done. All right, should be good to go. Okay, guys, so outsource, grow, and scale. Work on your business, not in it. Again, we're going to try to go through this very, very quickly, guys, so bear with me. Overview, why you should be outsourcing, the best time to begin outsourcing, what you need before hiring, and can you guys just confirm that everything looks good the way it's supposed to everywhere?
You are good to go.
Okay. Minimize your risk as an employer and resources. Okay, so this is just on the overview, why you should be outsourcing. Well, guys, it provides you the ability to work on your business instead of in it. Eliminates repetitive and mundane tasks. We're going to go through these bullets real quick, and I'm going to share a brief story with you. Duplication and efficiency and scalability. Okay, so part of the problem is, you know, as a solopreneur, and I went through this process myself, guys. I didn't want to share. I didn't feel like anybody could do work, you know, do what I could do as well as I could do it. So because of that reason, I would, you know, I didn't know how to outsource, and even if I did, I really wasn't sure, you know, how to do it the proper way, or if I wasn't confident in their ability, an outsourcer's ability to be able to do what I could do, and that's why I basically wasn't able to scale my business past a certain point. I mean, I did well, don't get me wrong, but I reached a point where I couldn't grow anymore, and it's because I didn't have anybody working for me. I was doing everything myself. And so if that's the case, you're not a business owner, right? You're self-employed. You might own a business, but the definition to me of a true business owner is somebody that has a business that generates income for them without them needing to be there and doing all the work, right? That's what a real business owner is in my mind. So although I had my own business and I was generating a lot of work and a lot of income, I had to actually perform the work in order to get to fulfill my obligations and in order to get paid. And if I wanted to make more money, I had to do more work, right? Had to provide more services to more people and actually fulfill it. And so I was working in my business. If I stopped working, I didn't get paid. And so that's where, and again, I reached a point where I couldn't actually even take on any more work because there just wasn't enough hours in the day. And so I was working in my business, and that's really self-employed. And being self-employed is still better than being an employee of somebody else. I completely get that. But, you know, to be in that, the cash flow quadrant of a business owner where you can generate passive income as well, then that's something that you need to be able to remove yourself from your business and have it still generate revenue. And to do that, for most businesses, you're going to need to be able to delegate work. And that's where most people fall short, is the ability to do it. And I was in the same boat. And so that's what we're going to go through today. One of the first things you can do is start hiring help for eliminating repetitive and mundane tasks. That's what I recommend, because I guarantee you every one of you have stuff that you're doing in your business on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, like client reporting, for example, that could be outsourced, or that you could train a virtual assistant that works for you to do. And that would save you from having to do that stuff over and over and over again, right? So that's why you should be outsourcing, is to eliminate those tasks, to free up your time, right? Duplication and efficiency. Part of this is if you train somebody how to do a specific task and they do that task over and over and over again, they become efficient at it. Probably more efficient than you, because you have to do that task among dozens and dozens or even hundreds of other tasks that you have to be that you're responsible for. So, you know, if you have a virtual assistant that gets really, really good at one particular task, then they're going to be probably more efficient than you. And scalability, the only way to really truly scale your business is to have multiple, to duplicate yourself, okay, and to be able to remove yourself. The best time to begin outsourcing, as soon as possible. We talk about as soon as possible because the more you get involved in your operations of your business, the harder it is. So the more your business grows, the more complex it gets. And the longer you wait to start outsourcing, the more difficult it will be to begin outsourcing. And so I recommend that the moment you start generating positive revenue in your business, so where you're out of the red and into the black, so to speak, that you hire a virtual assistant. And guys, I understand if you're just starting out in the internet marketing world or any sort of business, it can be online or offline business, it doesn't matter. I understand needing to generate positive revenue and wanting to keep some of that revenue for yourself. But it's going to take you longer to scale and make more money if you hold on to that like very that few dollars that you made that month. Yeah, it would be real nice to be able to take that for yourself and use it as income or whatever. But if you can reinvest that into hiring a virtual assistant like as soon as possible, then that's going to actually help you to be able to multiply your income many times over a lot faster. It'll shorten the time that it takes to make more money, if that makes sense. After developing processes or working procedures, oh shit, excuse me, we've got a issue with. Yeah, I don't bet you I didn't do that in Hump Day Hangouts either. Oh well.
Yeah, if we started on time, jeez.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, you guys, we should all be back to normal, right? Let's just make sure. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay. After developing processes or working procedures, guys, this is something that you're going to need to do ahead of time. Don't make the mistake of hiring virtual assistants because I'm telling you that you should do it as soon as possible, but not having processes or working procedures in place, because then you'll end up wasting a lot of time trying to train your virtual assistants to do those tasks, but you'll be training them in real time instead of having the training in place for them the moment that you hire them that's already in place. So my point is, working procedures, guys, are where you take a task in your business, you document how that task is completed from beginning to end. You do it both in video and in written step-by-step instructions. That's what's called a working procedure. And then you can hand that over to a virtual assistant, and they can learn that task. Okay? And we talk about how to do this step-by-step. And we're gonna cover that in this presentation as well. So after you master a task, document how to complete it. And in fact, I would want us to come back and edit this, to say not after mastering a task. Don't wait to master a task. Just get familiar with the task. You don't have to master it. Just get familiar with it, and then you can create a working procedure on how to do that task. You don't even have to be an expert at it. Just get it done, then outsource that task, because the outsourcer, if they're worth their weight in salt, which if you go through the process that we're going to share with you today, you will already have a virtual assistant that's about 95% likely to be a really good virtual assistant. Then they will be able to start. They will master that task so that you don't even have to. You just got to get familiar with it enough and the process to be able to document it. That's it. Okay, so don't wait. Don't think that you have to be an expert in any one task before you can outsource it. So that needs to be edited in this slide. What you need before hiring, working procedures, we just talked about that. There was a great book called Work the System by Sam Carpenter. If you guys have followed us at all, you know that I preach about that book all the time. It really did shift my entire attitude about how to run a business, and it was just a transformative book. So Work the System by Sam Carpenter, I highly recommend that you pick it up and read it. Google Docs, that's how I started out, and I recommend that you start out just creating working procedures in Google Docs because they're collaborative in that you can be sharing the docs with your virtual assistants, and they can be edited in real time, and everybody can see that happen, right? And working procedures are living and breathing documents. In other words, they never they can always be edited and improved upon, right? So as processes become more efficient, you make notes of those in the procedures and that kind of thing. So I recommend Google Docs to start with. A training portal, this is going to be what you use to train your virtual assistants. It's basically a place where you house your training videos, right? So YouTube is great for that, guys, because it's free, and you can just set your videos to unlisted, and that way they're not public, especially because, or you can even set them to private if you're dealing with incredibly sensitive tasks, stuff that is insensitive, that has sensitive business information like login details and that kind of stuff. You certainly don't even want the videos to be unlisted. You want them to be private, and you can invite your virtual assistants via their email to view the videos, because otherwise they could potentially, that URL could be leaked to somewhere, and then you'd be sharing. People would have access to your sensitive data. YouTube can be used, though, is all I'm saying, and it's free. So when you're first starting out, guys, just do that. Okay, but you can also have a membership site. I mean, there's a ton of them, guys. You could use Optimize Press. You could use, Member Mouse or any one of those membership type plugins. You could use membership site platforms like Value Add-on, which is what we use at Semantic Mastery. So and Mastery PR and value add-ons, awesome. So you know, if you start building an organization and you start hiring multiple outsourcers and you've got a lot of working procedures that you need to keep track of, I recommend that you go with a paid, password protected, you know, restricted access type membership site. It's a little bit safer that way. Okay, and a project management app, guys, Trello, Asana, and Basecamp. I don't know if Basecamp's free, but I know Trello and Asana have free levels. I talk a lot about Trello in the training, but I recently started using Flow because Flow is like, I think it's a more Flow is a paid app though, guys, just so you know. So if you're starting out, just start out with like Trello or Asana or one of these. I particularly like Trello, but I like Flow because I can basically, Flow has all the stuff that Trello does plus a lot more, but it is paid, just so you know. I'm going to be doing an update video in the Outsource Kingpin training about Flow because I've been using it a lot the last few weeks since the training has been completed, and I want to talk about the benefits of using it in there. But it's a great app. It's called, I think it's getflow.com is where you can check that out, but that's paid. The other ones are free. So starting off, just start off with a free one. Minimize your risk as an employer. Start with a general virtual assistant, guys. The reason why I say this is because when I first started outsourcing, I actually hired 2 virtual assistants full-time at the exact same time, and I hadn't planned on it, but I did that. I had already developed the working procedures for building IFTTT SEO networks, and it took me almost 4 months to completely develop those working procedures because it was a lot. If anybody that's been through the IFTTT SEO Academy training knows how much work there is to put those networks together properly. Well, I built all the working procedures for that. And I hired 2 virtual assistants to start building networks because I handed them the training and they were able to build networks from that point forward, which was awesome. However, I spent 4 months managing my business and creating working procedures. What I should have done, 100% on my own, what I'm saying is I was running my business. I was already tapped out on time. Like I didn't have any more time left. So I literally gave up 2 hours of sleep at night. When I decided I was going to do this, I said, okay, I'm giving up 2 hours of sleep at night. Those 2 hours I'm going to work on working procedures. It's a pain in the ass. What I should have done, in retrospect, was I should have hired a virtual assistant, a general virtual assistant, and trained them how to do a lot of the day-to-day activities that I was doing so that I could, then once they took over those tasks, I could have been working on working procedures for the more complex tasks like building IFTTT networks. So, learn from my mistake. Don't hire a specialist unless, you know, like very specialized virtual assistants, unless there are particular tasks that you do a lot or repetitively that happens, you know, that like daily or weekly or something that requires a specialist that you train to do just that one task. What I recommend instead is that you go after a virtual general assistant, somebody that can help you with multiple tasks like administrative stuff, repetitive tasks like we've mentioned, that kind of thing, and train them to do that because that will free up so much of your time that you can reinvest back into developing working procedures, systems basically for your more complex tasks, if that makes sense. Okay, so don't do it backwards the way I did it. Do it this way and you'll free up time faster. You'll be able to make progress faster. Okay? Potentially a team leader and or project manager. Part of the reason I like this, what I mean by this, guys, is when you hire a general virtual assistant, they're going to become intimately familiar with your business processes and your operations. And because of that, they're going to be in a good position to actually be promoted to a team leader and or a project manager, and where you start to hire people that will be placed in underneath them as far like subordinates to them, to where they are managing other virtual assistants. And a general virtual assistant that is intimately familiar with your business is going to be in a really good position to be able to take over that for you. So keep that in mind when you go to hire a virtual assistant, especially if you're hiring a general virtual assistant. You want to ask questions during the interview process, which we'll get to in a few minutes. That, you know, asking them if they'd be interested in potential management, because you want to first of all let your virtual assistant, the candidate that you're interviewing, know that if they get the job, if they get, you know, the job offer, if a job offer is presented to them, that there's room for growth, room for advancement. So that makes them happy, number one. But number two, you want somebody that desires that, because believe it or not, some people, they don't want that responsibility, and so you want to get to the bottom of that up front. Doesn't mean that you still wouldn't hire that general virtual assistant. It just means that you still would need to look for somebody that would want management potential going forward, if that makes sense. For specific tasks, If you are going to be hiring for specific tasks, I suggest that you hire on a per project basis or part-time, because typically specific tasks aren't going to be required like full-time unless you have that much work for them already. So I recommend that you do that on a per project basis, or you do it on part-time. Like you say, okay, I've got 5 hours worth of client reporting that needs done every week for whatever reason, then I'm going to hire a virtual assistant for just that one task, and I'm going to hire them for 5 hours a week. Does that make sense? So make it clear that the position will likely turn into full-time. Guys, whenever I hire anybody for a project, I tell them that if they do well for me, then there may be an opportunity for them to come work for us full-time or part-time, but a long-term engagement. In other words, there will be additional work after this one project has been completed. Okay. Use project management app to monitor progress. We talked about Trello and Asana and Basecamp and now Flow. Those are really, really important, guys. Schedule management hours and require reports. This is to minimize your risk as an employer. This we're going to get into a little bit more in the following slides. So just for now, just know that you want to schedule management hours. Resources, guys, take a screenshot of this. If you are on here, you might want to take a screenshot of this. Virtual assistant sites, Upwork, that's great for like one-time tasks. I don't recommend it for for part-time engagements, but I like to hire people directly if I'm going to be paying, like, we pay our virtual assistants on salary, so we like to hire them directly. I've been very successful in Upwork. I think I spent over like 40 grand in Upwork last year alone. So I do a lot of Upwork stuff, but it's more on a project level, not on a like on a long-term engagement. Okay. Upwork, you guys are all familiar with that, I'm sure. Online jobs, go to online jobs, or you can go masterypr.com. You can follow that link. That'll take you to online jobs. Guru, people per hour, freelancer, freelance. These are all a few of them. Books. So here's some resources I mentioned already. Work the System, the 12-week year. Awesome, awesome book. This is what we're on right now. I've been adhering to the 12-week year now for, well, 12 weeks now. We just finished a cycle yesterday. And for you guys that are trying to build your businesses, if you go through the 12-week year book, it's really going to help you to make significant progress in a short amount of time if you follow it. So I highly recommend it. Hiring funnel. Guys, this is the start of this. The whole process of our process for hiring virtual assistants, this is where most people get hung up, is on the hiring process. Okay, and I understand why, because it's incredibly time consuming, and you end up wasting so much damn time with people that don't know what the hell they're doing, or they're lazy, or they're terrible, they're unreliable, and I know probably a lot of you that are attending this webinar right now have probably had some pretty bad experiences with outsourcing, and so you've either given up or you just try not to do it as much as possible because you think it's more hassle. Well, a lot of that can be solved with just the hiring funnel. And so we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you some examples of what it looks like, or at least on a conceptual level. We're going to talk about the setup, the job posting, and the screening, and how we can automate the hiring process to about 90%. It's not 100% automated, but it's a hell of a lot better than doing it manually, and it literally automates about 90% of the process. All right, so hiring funnel explained. Just so you guys know, I never take credit for what I've learned from other people. This is an original technique that I learned from Gonzalo Patemoster. If you guys are familiar with him, he was behind Joyprool, and I learned this from him about 2 years ago. And the hiring funnel that I'm going to share with you guys, the concept of it today, and I go through exactly how to set it up inside Outsource Kingpin. But again, I want to give him credit for that. It was an awesome, awesome method. I've refined it for our own purposes, which is what I share with you guys over the last 2 years, but it works like a freaking charm. Okay. For some of the frequently asked questions, these were just from a survey that we put in here. We don't really have time to go through these, but let's just say that these questions are answered individually in the training itself. So you can see what these are. A lot of the we did a survey of our I don't know, we sent it out to like 6,000 subscribers. We had quite a bunch of responses, and these are the frequently asked questions that came up specifically about outsourcing. I compiled those and put those throughout this training where I felt that they fit, and then I answered them in the training, if that makes sense. All right, so guys, take a screenshot of this. This is what we call the hiring funnel. This is basically an overview or a high-level view of what it is. So essentially, what a hiring funnel, guys, is funnels are not just for sales. They're awesome for this purpose. which is to send applicants into a funnel, like essentially a series of questions and tests, okay? And then once they come through that, you can monitor or assess the results, right? So the responses to your questions in the first phase of the funnel, and you can immediately eliminate people that didn't follow instructions or that don't meet certain requirements that you've set up. And that's going to eliminate a lot of people right off the bat. Then you send those that made the cut to a second phase. Once they go through the second phase, you're going to have, once again, you're going to reassess or reevaluate the candidates that have made it through, and then you're going to eliminate those that didn't make the cut, and then you're going to push those through to the interview process, at which point, we're going to talk about this a lot in a minute, and then after the interview process, you're going to make the job offers to those candidates that have qualified or made it all the way through, and then you make the, if they accept, then they're hired. All right, and so guys, just so you know, this right here, if you look, these are the amount of applicants that will go through, that will start trying to go through the hiring funnel process, and it's almost like clockwork for me. Every time I've done this, and we've done this dozens of times now, I'll post a job posting, and we'll get like 140 clicks on the job posting, and out of that we'll see that about 80 or 85 people will try to submit or to apply to the job. And there's in the job posting I have very specific instructions as to how to apply. And if they screw up on that first step and they try to apply but they didn't follow instructions, they're immediately cut. They don't get a second chance because they didn't follow instructions the first time. Guarantees that they're not going to follow instructions at some point if you hire them. So like I said, we've gone through this many times, and we'll start off with like 140 clicks roughly, somewhere between 120, 150 clicks on the job offer. From there, we usually get between 80 to 90 people that attempt to go through the funnel. From there, we lose about half of them because they didn't follow instructions on how to apply. So from there, we end up with about 30 to 40 people that will actually have made it through the first stage of the hiring funnel. And these hiring funnel, we're going to talk about this in just a minute, but the stuff in here isn't difficult tasks. You're not, for general virtual assistants or people that you're going to train with your own working procedures, which is how I recommend that you do it, you're not really testing them on skill. You're testing them to see if they can follow instructions. Because you're going to train them what you want them to do, right? So they don't need to have skills. You can take somebody cold off the street who just knows how to get online, and you can train them how to do whatever task you want in your business if you have working procedures in place. And that's why those are so critical to this working. But this hiring funnel will eliminate people that try to go through the first, that screw up, then that didn't follow instructions. You'll end up with about 40% of those people, 40 to 50% of those people will make the cut through the first phase. Then you send them to phase 2, where phase 2 is more work for them. They're not getting paid at this point. So you'll lose some of these people there because they're like, oh, screw this. I got to go through more tests. I don't want this job. Well, good. Get the hell out of here then. We'll say this job is only for those that really want it. And so those that really want it will go through phase 2. And those that make it through phase 2, which will be a smaller amount, you're going to lose some people here as well. You're going to lose some people because they didn't want to go through it. Then you're going to lose some people because they didn't follow instructions or their submitted responses weren't satisfactory, whatever the case may be. But you end up here at this point with anywhere between, like I said, start off with about 85 people trying to go through here. You end up with about 30 or 40 at this point. At this point, you end up with between like 8 to 12, sometimes a little bit more, but usually I'm down to about 8 to 12 people at this point. And then I set up interviews, and I go through interviews, and I'll do that all in one day. I'll set up like 3 hours of interview time where I'll go through all 8 to 12 candidates. And by the time I'm done, I usually have at least one, but oftentimes 2 or 3 candidates that I'm going to make a job offer to. And we're going to talk about what's important about the interview process too. But this graphic right here, guys, bookmark it, whatever, screenshot it. It's very, very important. Okay.
Sorry, Bradley. To add to, sorry to interrupt you, but
okay.
To add to what you were saying, I think that's the secret sauce of the entire thing. Because you know, I have been asking on my YouTube channel, and then we have this question time and time again on Hamday Hangout, for example, is where do you get the best outsourcers? And it's not about the place, it's not about the website. It's about the process that you put them through. And I think this is where most of the people will actually quit, because if you post and if you get, I don't know, 150 applicants, you will end up saying, fuck this, you know, I'll do it on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that and that's completely logical. But when you go through these steps, and you have this funnel in place, you can actually go out there and find any position that you need.
That's right.
I've done this for the Spanish market, and I had great results. And it's an entirely different set of outsourcing websites, etc. So it's not about the place; it's about the funnel and the process. So I think
correct.
that's super, super important.
Yeah, and like Hernan just said, if you get 150 applicants, by the way, about 120 of them are going to be complete bullshit applicants, and you will waste an enormous amount of time going through. And in fact, a lot of the times, my point is if you send people through a funnel process like what we're talking about, you will eliminate the tire kickers, the time wasters, right off the bat. So.
Just to add or to reiterate what it is that you guys are saying, this is what we do, guys. This is what we use. This is what we use to get the RYSVA, and all we asked for was someone who could follow directions.
That's it.
I mean, that's how the job was posted. That's how everything was conducted, and the guy rocks. I mean, anything that I give him, not just RYS, by the way, but just anything that I give him that has instructions where he has to do a process, he kills it, and that's what you guys are looking for, and this is how you do it.
That's right. So for setup for this, guys, you only need a few tools. And you can do it with free tools, guys. Trust me. Okay. Everything that we share in this training can be done with free tools. All right. But we also do present paid options as well, because obviously we do use paid options now in our own business. But some you can still do it with free. So Screencast Software, Jing, you guys, I'm pretty sure are probably familiar with that. That's free. That's made by TechSmith. So is Snagit and Camtasia. They're all by the same developer. I use Snagit, which is like a screen capture plus a light editing software, image editing software, and now they actually do some video editing, some slight video editing. Camtasia, that's expensive. I don't recommend that unless you already have it. You can get away with just Snagit or Jing. Snagit's like $40, dude. Guys, I love it. Like, I've been using Snagit for years. They just released a new version of it too, which will create GIFs out of GIF images out of videos, all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. So I highly recommend that you get that, but you can get away with just Jing if you need to. Webcam, it's optional. This is for recording the About Me in My Business video. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I prefer to do that, have a webcam where I can, so that in my job offer, or excuse me, in my job posting that's going to be posted on the job boards, I can have a link to a video where the potential candidate or the applicant can watch the video, and it's me looking into the webcam explaining who I am and what my business is about. That way I feel like they get to know me. It builds rapport with them without even ever talking to them. Okay, and that's what I want. I want to develop a relationship with a virtual assistant, because they're going to be an integral part of my business. You know what I mean? So that's optional, but I highly recommend that you do it. By the way, the Screencast software, guys, because you're going to need that, because you're going to need to be able to create training videos documenting your procedures and how to complete tasks that are specific to your business. Okay, so you're going to need to be able to do that. Okay. Dedicated Google account, I recommend that you set up a Gmail account or Google account that's specific to your hiring funnel. So, like, for example, yourcompanyjobs@gmail.com, right? Yourcompanyjobs@gmail.com, something like that, so that you have a specific address. And we're going to set up Gmail Labs canned responses. We're not going to go through how to do that in here. It's inside the training. If you guys want it, you can get it at Outsource Kingpin, but you guys could probably figure it out on your own if you tried hard enough, right? So canned responses are like autoresponders. In other words, if somebody emails and you set up specific trigger actions in Gmail, so like if you set up a canned response to send a reply to any email with the subject line that you specify, and that's what we're going to do. We tell the job poster or the applicant in the job posting to submit their application or start the application process by sending an email with a very specific subject line. And what happens when they send an email to that email address with that specific subject line, it sends a canned response. It's like an autoresponder. Will send an automatic reply to them that gives them instructions to the start of the funnel. If they send anything to that email address other than that specific subject line, then they don't get the canned response because it doesn't trigger it. And so they're automatically eliminated because they didn't follow instructions. Okay, so that's important. Google Drive, you're going to need that for your Google Forms, for the hiring funnel. That's what we use. Also, you're going to need Google Drive eventually for your working procedures, or you should probably already have those in place anyways before posting a job. Posting a job posting somewhere. If that makes sense. Okay, YouTube, we talked about that. Google goo.gl URL shortener. That's just for tracking clicks on links. It's not necessary. I like to do it, but you don't have to. Screencast software, we're going to go through these very quickly. We don't need to go through this. We just talked about these already anyways. So we'll just keep moving. Let's go to the next one. Google account, we talked about this. For example, masteryprjobs@gmail.com is one that I created for that. So again, canned responses will trigger and automatically be sent out when somebody sends an email to you that has the specific requirements that you had set up to trigger that. Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys get that. For the Google account, the Drive account, you're going to need to be setting up 2 Google Forms. If we go back, I'm not going to cycle back a whole bunch of slides, but if you guys remember the image I showed you of the graphic of the hiring funnel, the first round of basically what you do is you're sending people to 2 Google Forms. Phase 1 is a Google form with some questions and a series of very small tasks. Nothing is difficult. In fact, even if you give them a complex task, you're going to give them the exact instructions on how to complete that task. Remember, this is the application process, guys. Yes, you're asking them to complete some work, but it's to test their, to test their ability to follow instructions. It's not about the end result. It's not about their skill level. It's about their ability to follow instructions. Just remember that, guys. If you take anything away from this today, when you're hiring virtual assistants, unless you're hiring skilled workers for specific tasks like programmers or coders and stuff like that, but I'm talking about you freeing up your time from the stuff that you're doing, which is going to require you to be able to teach people how to do what you do. And you can do it with video and working procedures, but you have to make sure that the virtual assistant that you give that to can follow instructions. And that's what this process is about, is identifying who can follow instructions. Okay? So your first round, you want to just ask of the Google form. Those of you that have never created a Google form, you do it inside of Drive. Again, I walk through step by step how to do it in the training. If you're not comfortable doing it on your own, pick up the training. Otherwise, you can attempt this on your own. You want to set up some basic questions, basic skill tests, and can you follow instructions tests. That's what I do. Again, it's not about skill, it's about the ability to follow instructions. So I do actually ask for, like in the training, for example, and this is the exact same funnels that we use in our business, guys. I tell the people to go out, the applicants to go out and create a brand new Google account and set up a Blogger blog. And I walk them, and I give them in the job in the actual Google form. There's a link to a training video right with the question. When I say I give the instructions, go set up a Google, create a brand new Google account, create a Blogger account, and here's a video that shows you step by step exactly how to do, exactly how I want it, because I want them to create an Excel spreadsheet to keep the data for the account login details and everything. And I show them step by step how to do it in the actual Google form with just a link to a video, a training video, so that when they as they're going through, they know exactly what it is that I want, and that's all I care about. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're going to keep moving. For the second round, anybody that has made it through the first round, you're going to end up sending them to a second round, which is just going to be basically some qualifier questions, some questions that I ask them about, like, okay, are you willing to work 40 hours a week? Are you going to be able to be available during at some point during my normal business hours so that we can communicate? Are you looking for a long-term employment, or is this just a temporary gig? You know, things like that. Those are qualifier questions. Additional, can you follow instructions? Again, this is phase 2. And if we were to go back to that other graphic, guys, remember the point is you're going to lose some people at phase 1 because they either didn't follow instructions or they're just flat out lazy and they don't want to work for the job. In other words, they don't want to put forth any effort to get the job. They just want somebody to give them a damn job. Well, that's not what we want, right? We want somebody that is hungry. We want somebody that is ambitious and that wants this job bad enough that they're willing to put the work in. Right? And so that's what I love about this process, is it eliminates people that don't follow instructions and eliminates lazy people. Well, round 2 is the same thing. It's just a little bit more advanced. In other words, we just make it a little bit more difficult because we want to now take those people that were on the fence that maybe said, I don't want to do all this stuff, but I'll go ahead and do it because I do need the work. But then they get to phase 2 and they're like, oh shit, another round, screw this, I'm out of here. I'm going to go find some other dummy that'll hire me, because and then let that other dummy deal with them when they don't perform for them. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. So lastly, there's some additional can you follow instructions tests. Just like before, you provide detailed and specific instructions. This one should be a little bit more difficult and or time consuming than the first round. Okay? So the Google account, YouTube and Google, you just want to set that up so that you can record videos and have a place. You're going to want to phone verify your account if you're going to have training videos that are over 15 minutes, because otherwise, until you phone verify the account, you can't. That's something that you can do. Google shortener, like I said, that's just for link tracking or click tracking if you want. Job posting. We are got about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to try to run through these guys. Job posting. Make your job post stand out from other posts. Include as much detail as possible. I give exactly examples of job postings that we have used inside the training guys, but you want to be really, really detailed, and this is where I talk about in the job posting, you want it to stand out among the hundreds or thousands of other job postings out there. And if you take the time on creating a good job posting with a lot of detail and links, like I said, to videos that like an about me and my business video and that kind of thing, it's really going to stand out from all the other job postings out there, or the vast majority of them anyways. And that makes a big difference because you'll attract more applicants and higher quality applicants for the most part. And remember, since you're sending them through the funnel anyways, you're not going to have to deal with any of them until they've proven themselves. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter that you're attracting more. It's like, oh, I don't know if I want to attract more applicants because that's more work. No, it's really not, because you have the funnel in place, and the funnel does most of the work for you, right? So craft the post to fit the platform. That's important. You want to look at other job postings, and I know I said you want it to stand out from other posts, but then I tell you here to make it fit the platform. All I mean is just make sure that it conforms to whatever their terms are, but try to make it stand out. Okay. Canned responses. We talked about how that is used. But for example, like if we set up and then Gmail filter with the subject line advanced SEO assistant, that's what triggers the canned response. This is just an example, guys. But that way in the job posting I put, in order to apply, send an email to masteryprjobs@gmail.com with the exact subject line advanced SEO assistant. And then I even say in the job posting, any email that is sent that doesn't contain the subject line exactly as advanced SEO assistant will immediately be disqualified from as a candidate for this job. And so it's right in the job posting, and yet you'll still get 30, 40, 50 people that will send an email with their resume attached and everything else, but it'll have not advanced SEO assistant as the subject line. And so that doesn't trigger the canned response, and so they're immediately disqualified. Good riddance. Get the hell out of here. Don't waste my time. Right? So just keep that in mind. Enable send canned responses. You guys can figure that out on your own. Go to Gmail Labs, by the way, in order to enable go to your settings in Gmail, and then you can go to Labs, and from there is where you can find canned responses. Just do a search and you'll find it. Screening. Review responses in the Google Sheet. Guys, when you set up a Google form, the submitted responses will be entered into a Google spreadsheet. So it's really, really easy to go in and review the responses from from anybody that's gone through the funnel. They're started to go through the funnel, and you can sort by columns. So you can, like for example, I ask questions, and again, I picked this up from Gonzalo Patemoster, but most of the VAs that we hire, the vast majority of our VAs are in the Philippines, and a lot of them have pretty poor internet speeds. And so one of the things that I ask for is for them to go to speedtest.net and take a speed test, and then take a screenshot, and I tell them to install Jing, to download and install Jing, and then, which is a screen capture software, right? Then go to speedtest.net, take a speed test, and then take a screenshot of it and submit the link in the Google form of the screenshot, right? And so what's funny is sometimes I will get replies or responses in the Google Sheet, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking for at least a 0.05 or 0.5 megabits down. I'm looking for certain speed levels is what I'm saying, because a lot of the stuff we do is bandwidth heavy because we do a lot of video stuff, number one, but number two, the training videos that I'm going to be sending to the applicant or to the candidate that I hire, if they get hired, we don't want the videos, we don't want them pissing away most of their day waiting for videos to buffer because they're on a slow internet connection. So unfortunately, they might be an awesome VA, but if their internet connection is too slow, they're disqualified. And that's just the way that it is, guys. I'm running a business. I don't have time to even the most awesome VA, if they have slow internet connection, that means they're not going to be efficient with their time, and I'm losing money, right? And so because of that, that's what I'll do is I'll go into the spreadsheet and I'll just sort, and immediately I can eliminate anybody that doesn't meet specific speed requirements, right? Also, I will get people that will go to speedtest.net, take a speed test, and then take a screenshot with some other software other than Jing, because maybe they already had screen capture software on their computer and they didn't need to download and install Jing. But didn't I tell them to do that as part of the process? Yes. So if I get a screenshot submitted to me that's not from Jing, then they're disqualified because they didn't follow instructions. Does that make sense? You guys get what I'm going with this? So just keep that in mind. You can very, very quickly eliminate entries or candidates that don't follow instructions or that don't meet specific requirements. Those that do, you're going to manually, because this is the first part of the manual process, is any applicants through phase 1 that have completed phase 1, once you've sorted the data in the spreadsheet and identified who the candidates are that can progress to phase 2, then you just, as part of the one of the columns in the spreadsheet will be their email addresses. So all you got to do is copy those remaining email addresses that are going to, and then send an email from that Gmail account to them with the link to the second Google form, phase 2 of the funnel. Does that make sense? So that's the first manual process. It's very, very quick and easy to do. Okay? Interviewing and hiring, and I know we're running out of time. We might go a few minutes over, guys. Just bear with me. I want to get through this today. Interviewing and hiring, guys, this is really important as well. I mean, the whole process is important. You can't leave any step out, guys, or you're going to end up kicking yourself. And by the way, we have mastermind members, because we've shared this process in the past with our mastermind members, and we have mastermind members that have applied some of this training and still ended up having shitty results. And every single time somebody is posted in the mastermind and we've started asking questions and we get to the bottom of why they had a bad experience with their outsourcer, it's always because they didn't follow this process all the way through. They took shortcuts. Well, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do this. Okay. Well, then when you have trouble with your outsourcer and they're unreliable or they don't follow instructions or whatever the case may be, don't say it doesn't work if you didn't do it all. If you didn't follow it all the way through. That's my point. So don't take shortcuts, okay? Interviewing and hiring, this is very, very important. We're going to talk about these 3 bullet points here. Interviewing, guys, once they've gone through phase 2, you're going to be left with just a handful of extremely qualified candidates, but it's not done yet. The interview process speaks volumes about that virtual assistant, guys. This is one of the most important parts of it. And here's the thing. When I do an interview, it's always on Skype. I use Skype to manage my virtual assistants, and I do a text chat with them. It's not a phone call. It's not a video chat. It can be, I guess, if you want, but I prefer to communicate with my virtual assistants via text chat, so that's how I set up the interview. And what I do is I schedule 15 to 20-minute Skype interviews with them, and I try to block it all out. So like if I've got like 6 candidates that I'm going to be interviewing, I try to do it all at one time, so I'll schedule 2.5 hours or whatever, and I'll schedule them back to back every, in 15 or 20-minute increments. Okay, try to get it all knocked out at one time. All right, this process should be used to identify candidates with the best communication skills, guys. This is really, really important. This is the whole point in the interview process. They've already proven themselves at this point that they can follow instructions. They've already proven that they really want the job because they've gone through 2 phases of your hiring funnel, right? But one of the most important things, if not the most important thing other than being able to follow instructions, is being able to communicate with them. And unfortunately, when you're hiring virtual assistants that aren't native to your country or where you live, there can be communication barriers. Okay, and that's in part why I don't care about doing phone interviews or live video interviews with them, is because a lot of Philippines VAs might not have the best English speaking ability, but they can write very, very well, or write, for at least the kind of task that I'm going to assign them. They can communicate in written English, but maybe not so much in spoken English. That's fine. I don't care. All I care about is that I can communicate with them well in Skype, because we're going to be spending a lot of time, answering questions, assigning tasks, communicating when issues arise concerning tasks that they're working on, or that kind of thing. We need to be able to communicate well. So that's what the interview process is about. It's not so much about the answers to the questions you ask them, like what their answers are that are going to either qualify them or disqualify them. It's about their communication with you. How freely does the communication flow between you guys? If dialogue seems forced, candidates should be eliminated. Because if you can't communicate with them well during the interview process, chances are it's always going to be difficult to communicate with them. And trust me, that is very, very frustrating. So if communication flows well, that candidate should be considered a strong candidate. And that's really the key. That's the final part of this interview or this hiring funnel process is the interview. And that's where they've proven themselves all the way up to a point. Now it comes down to, can you communicate well with me? If the communication goes well, you are going to probably get a job offer. If the communication is forced or it doesn't go well, then you're going to be eliminated. And that's just the way it works. Okay, so take notes about each candidate during the interview. That's important because, especially if you're only interviewing one candidate, which, by the way, guys, if you set up a funnel and at the end of phase 2 you only have one candidate, leave the funnel going for a few more days, because you want to be interviewing more than just one candidate. Because trust me, if you put all this work into setting up the funnel and you're only left with one candidate at the end for the interview, you're going to want to hire that person whether the communication is good or not, because you've already put all that work in. Trust me, you're going to want to do it, and I've done that too. And trust me, you end up regretting it if they don't communicate well. So my point is, you want to make sure that you are interviewing at least 2 candidates so that you can choose the stronger of the 2, and more if possible. Okay? Frequently asked questions, don't have time to get into that, but you can read. That was one of them. That's covered in the training. Presenting the job offer template, we have this inside the training, but here are some basic, overall like headings that you should have within your job offer: expectations, how you're going to pay them, the benefits they're going to receive. And guys, our virtual assistants are paid on salary. They get vacation and sick time, so basically paid leave. They get holidays. They get a 13th month bonus. They get, we send them bonuses on December 20th every year. So if they've been working with us for 12 months, they get a full month salary. So we provide our virtual assistants with benefits, guys. The only way you're going to keep a good virtual assistant is to take care of them. They're going to take care of you and help you build your business. You take care of them. If you're not, then don't bother. Just do everything yourself. Okay? It's really, really important to take care of your people. Okay? Reporting, that's something else. I recommend that you require reporting. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about team leaders and project managers. Customize your job offer to suit your specific needs. I give some examples of jobs that we've hired for, but you're certainly going to want to modify that. There's some frequently asked questions. All right? What to do with the remaining applicants? Okay, if you had some people that have gone through the entire process and you've interviewed them, but let's say you've interviewed 5 candidates and you've selected 1. Or in my case, like most of the time, if I end up with 2 or 3 really strong candidates, I give them jobs anyways, even if I really didn't have the need, because I don't want to lose that potential candidate for the next time. So a lot of times, like, we will hire 2 or 3 people at one time, and we end up scaling into scaling our business to fit our outsources if we need to. It's amazing how having salaried employees not being productive because you don't have work for them will light a fire under your ass to get some work for them. It's amazing what that will do for you. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes forcing yourself out of a comfort zone will help you to make the most progress in the shortest amount of time. Okay? So what to do with the remaining applicants? Let's say out of those 5 you hire 2, and you've got 3 that were out of those. Let's say 2 of them were candidates that were eliminated because of the communication wasn't real strong, and you have 1 left over that was still a good candidate, but you don't have enough work to hire that other person. Well, we send rejection emails, but what I do is always leave the door open for future engagement. At least I try to. So I basically tell them, hey, look, you did an outstanding job. We decided to go with another candidate for the time being. However, we are a growing business, and there's a strong chance that we're going to need to hire additional help within the next few weeks. Would you be interested in us contacting you again at that time when that time arises? Let them say yes or no. Most of the time, they're going to say yes. And in fact, I have gone back within 3-4 weeks, sometimes even longer, and contacted those people, and they still needed work. And so I was able to give them jobs then without having to go through the whole hiring funnel process again, because they already made it through. So I've got people on reserve that are still looking for work. Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys get that. Okay. Onboarding new hires, send a welcome email. We have a specific template we use for that as well. It's provided in the training. Give instructions for what is required to be completed before starting work. Like, for example, if you're using a workforce management app, make sure that the new hires get added to that, that you share or give permissions to certain files and documents and that kind of stuff. So you just want to get all that stuff squared away before they actually start work. There's some frequently asked questions for that. We're almost out of time, guys, but we're getting there. We're almost there. Training. Working procedures. This is Mike Cooch. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mike Cooch, but he did a lot of local marketing training back in the day. Now he does a lot of e-commerce stuff, but he had a system called the process that many years ago when I was buying products and learning about local marketing from Mike Cooch, that was one of the bonuses for one of his products. It was called the process, and it was exactly about creating working procedures. And I read it 5 years ago when I was buying products from him, and I wasn't at the position to even consider that. Like, I read it and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, I don't have any outsourcers and all that. And that was a small-minded entrepreneur thinking. Like, in other words, I had access to this information on how to do this when I first started my business, and I ignored it. And 2.5, 3 years later, when I was at a glass ceiling, and I read Sam Carpenter's work, The System, that's when I realized, I was like, wait a minute, that's Mike Cooch's process. I was like, damn, I wish I would have paid attention 3 years ago, you know? But anyways, you live and you learn. So working procedure, also known as a process, training new VAs efficiently, monitoring progress, guidance, and constructive criticism. These are all important, so we're going to try to cover these very quickly. Working procedures, this is identify tasks that you want to delegate, guys. You can outsource any task in your business, or just about. There are some exceptions that you're going to need some critical thinking skills that you might not want to outsource. But just about everything in your business, even stuff that even complex tasks, can be broken down into a series of steps to complete. And you can outsource anything in your business, guys. And this is how you do it right here. Working procedures. Okay? Identify tasks that you want to delegate. Create a narrated screencast video of yourself completing the task, or if you have partners, whatever. Any of you that are doing the work for your business, you can record a narrated screencast video of yourself completing the task. Be very thorough with the details for how to complete each step. So what I do for our virtual assistants, guys, is I don't, and any of you that have gone through any of our training know that I don't just explain how to do stuff. I also explain why we're doing it, and I think that is incredibly important, because it's not enough to just know how to do something. I'm the type of person that I want to know why I'm doing it too, and I think if we explain the why to our virtual assistants, I've seen a lot of people that just bark out orders or give orders out to their subordinates and say, do this. But when somebody doesn't understand the why behind it, there can be resistance to that task. And when somebody understands the why, it makes them feel like more of a part of the team and like they're working towards a common goal. And so I'm very thorough, and I explain why and how to do each step. Okay, explain why you're doing each of these during the process. It makes for a better relationship with your virtual employee or a virtual assistant, and they will perform better for you, trust me. Watch the video that you just recorded and then document those steps. What I mean is, once you've recorded a video, guys, go back, and you've uploaded it to YouTube or whatever, go press the play button, watch 30 seconds of it and pause it, and then go type out the steps into a Google Doc, right? And guys, by the way, you can outsource this. Just so you know, I did all my working procedures myself for 4 months before I ever hired my first virtual assistant, because I completed an entire IFTTT training procedure, which was incredibly detailed, and I handed it over. And then after I started working on other working procedures for my business, and then it dawned on me one day, why the hell don't I just hire a virtual assistant to create my working procedures? All I had to do from that point forward was create narrated screencast videos of the task, and then I send it over to the virtual assistant and say, create a working procedure out of this. And they do that. They play the video for 30 seconds, pause, type out the steps in a very like a bullet fashion. So it's all, it's very linear, step by step. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. So on and so forth, all the way through the entire process of the video. Okay, so you can outsource your processes. If that makes sense. Creating the working procedures, you can outsource that, other than the narrated screencast videos. So watch the video just recorded, document the steps. If you need to re-record it after you've documented the steps to make it flow a little bit better, then you can. That's up to you. That's only if you feel that you need to. Add working procedures to a project management app, example Trello, and you can even outsource this, and that's what I just mentioned. Okay. And I know we're at the 6 o'clock mark, guys. Bear with me. I'll try to get through this. Working procedures, frequently asked questions. You can see some of these questions here, guys. These come up a lot. So these are answered inside the training. But you can see, I'm sure some of you can relate to some of these questions. Training VAs efficiently, use Trello. Look, I've used Trello for training about specific tasks, but now I'm moving everything into Flow. And again, I've told you I'm going to update the Outsource Kingpin training within probably the next week or two to give a full overview of how I'm using Flow now. Again, that's a paid app, though. You don't need it. It's just if you're going to be building an organization, instead of putting everything in one and then having to move it at a later date, you might want to consider that up front. And if you feel like you're going to build an organization, then go ahead and bite the bullet and spend a few bucks per month for Flow or something like that, a paid app that's going to give you more robust features, because it'll save you time later on in the future. But that's up to you, okay? Trello, I'm not going to be able to get into how to set up Trello here, guys. I'm sure you can go to YouTube and find lots of tutorial videos on Trello if you don't want to buy the course. If you want to buy the course, I show you exactly how to set up Trello inside the course. Don't have time to get into that right now, okay? But Trello is an awesome app. I use Trello. That's why I talk about it in the training. It doesn't have to be Trello, guys. You guys can use whatever project management app you want. I'm just sharing what we use in our business. Okay. Let's see. We want to keep on moving. Monitoring progress. Okay, so if you have a good idea of how long it takes to complete tasks, which you should, because if you have been completing the task, especially, here's my benchmark, guys. Here is the way that I can identify, or at the bare minimum, like what is the maximum amount of time it should take to complete any task. Well, how long did it take you to record the training video for completing that task? That's the maximum amount of time it should take. Because if you recorded the training video properly on how to complete that task the way that I mentioned and be very, very detailed about it and explain the why while you're showing the how, then you're going to end up with a video that for that particular task is rather long compared to if you had just done the task without narrating the video, like if you just done the task yourself. So the quickest the task should be done is if you were to just do the task yourself. The longest it should take should be no longer than how long it took you to create that video. And the reason I'm telling you this, guys, is because if you assign a task to a new virtual assistant and they take 3 hours to do something, let's say 30 minutes to do something, that it only took you 15 minutes to create the training video with the narration throughout the whole entire process, there's something clearly wrong with them. Not with you, but with them. And not with your training, but with them. Does that make sense? So they should be able to complete that within about 15 to 20 minutes, no question. Okay? And after they've done it once or twice, they should be able to do it in under 15 minutes because now they're not having to watch the video to do it. Right? So just keep that in mind. So monitoring progress, that's how I know whether my virtual assistants are being efficient or not. And once you start hiring multiple virtual assistants, if they're both doing the same or similar tasks, you can actually start to compare who's more efficient by just monitoring progress of how they're moving through the Trello boards. And again, this is covered inside the training. If progress is slower than expected, you need to reach out to the virtual assistant and ask them, what is the problem? Guys, you need to be proactive with your virtual assistants. Don't wait for them to come to you. Encourage them to come to you when they have issues, but you also need to be proactive and stay on top of them, because if you don't, a lot of virtual assistants will be timid and they won't want to reach out because they'll feel like they're going to be reprimanded. So you need to be proactive and reach out to them. Say, what is the problem? Be very, very diplomatic in how you approach them, but then say, what can I do to help you? What's going to make your job easier, right? Guidance and constructive criticism. Review completed work often, especially when new tasks are learned. Guys, that's really, really important. This is something you're probably going to want to do yourself to begin with. Once you hire a team leader or a project manager, that's work that can be delegated. Okay, but for right now, when you first start out, you're going to want to be reviewing the completed work from your virtual assistants to make sure that it's up to par, up to your standards. Provide feedback. It's very, very important, especially up front, to be providing feedback. Again, communication is key, and that's why you had already determined who can communicate well during the interview process. If something is not done correctly, be diplomatic in how you address it, but compliment what has been done well first before offering any criticism. In other words, when you have a piece of work from your virtual assistant that isn't up to standards, or there is something wrong with it at somewhere in that task, the completed task, there's something wrong, then don't just say, hey, there's a problem with this. Say, hey, you did a really good job with this here, but let me show you where we could have improved over here. Does that make sense? And it's just a way I found that works really, really well to offer up a compliment before criticism. and it seems to be received better. Does that make sense? Okay, review your daily reports and respond to issues or requests. Daily reports are only required up front. I do that with my virtual assistants. I require them to submit daily reports for the first few weeks. Once they have proven themselves and they're past basically the probationary period, then we do weekly reports, and now I don't even read the reports myself because they go to the team leaders, and the team leaders review them. Encourage dialogue during office hours. Office hours are very, very important. We're going to talk about managing now and then scaling, and we're done. I know we're a little bit over, guys, but we're almost there, I promise. Managing best practices when to promote workforce task management applications. Best practices are to keep regular office hours. Guys, we work with most of our virtual assistants are in the Philippines. They're 12 hours ahead of us, or I'm on the East Coast, so they're about 12 hours ahead of me. So I have set up a very specific time every day that I'm available to communicate with my virtual assistants on Skype. And I actually have, for me, I'm always available between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. Okay, and that's about 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for them. But I tell my virtual assistants, look, I don't care what hours you work. I honestly don't care what hours you work. As long as you're giving me 40 hours a week and that you are available at some point between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, always available to communicate with me in case issues arise or whatever. And that's all that's required. So I don't care if they work, you know, all the other hours of the day that I'm not working, that's fine. I have no problem with that as long as they're available. And I usually tell each virtual assistant or team leader, because I usually just deal with the team leaders now for the most part, is I tell them to be available for, you know, 1 hour, say from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday every day. Just be there available. Doesn't mean we're going to be communicating that hour. We might go days at a time with never communicating, but they need to be there so that in case I need to get in touch with them for anything, they're available for me to chat with. And the same goes for me. If they need anything, I'm available for them. Does that make sense? And so that's very, very key to set regular office hours, guys. That's the only way that you're going to get consistency out of your business. Okay? Encourage your VAs to give feedback regarding the processes. Guys, your virtual assistants are literally neck deep in your business's processes on a daily basis. Your VAs can find ways to make processes more efficient that you may have overlooked. Sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. And so sometimes having somebody else give you suggestions about process improvement that you may have overlooked. And your virtual assistants, especially because they're the ones completing the task for you over and over on a daily basis, they're going to find ways to make the process more efficient, so encourage that. Okay? That's why I said the working procedures are living, breathing documents. Give praise often. It's important. Encourage your virtual assistants. You know, they say one aw shit wipes out 100 attaboys, that kind of thing. So, like, I'm always giving my virtual assistants praise. We do it often. Even my other partners will jump into the Skype group from time to time and just drop a, hey, you guys are all awesome type message, and it goes a long way for keeping morale up. Provide bonuses for exceptional work. Increase pay as you assign more responsibility to your VAs. Very important. Okay. When to promote. Once a VA is completing tasks efficiently with little to no guidance, guys, it's a good time to give them a raise or possibly promote them to a higher level position, which could be a team leader or ultimately a project manager, which we'll talk about that in the next section. Ask a VA if they'd be interested in becoming a team leader or a project manager. Guys, ask them. Don't just arbitrarily promote them, because some, believe it or not, there are some people that don't have a lot of ambition in life, and they're completely comfortable with just receiving a paycheck and doing whatever their assigned work is on a day-to-day basis. They don't want the extra responsibility. So make sure you ask, because honestly, you will get sometimes where people aren't interested in being a project manager or a team leader, and if that's the case, don't force them into that position. Go find somebody else to do it. Okay? When it is time to hire more VAs, you can have your team leader train and provide guidance. Here's the beautiful thing, guys. When you have working procedures in place and you have a system in place and you have virtual assistants that have now gone through your system and are completing tasks for you successfully and regularly, do you need to provide guidance to any new hires from that point on? No, because now you have other virtual assistants. Your subordinates can be that guidance for the new hires. So my point is that's what I'm saying, guys. You only need to do this one time for each one of the tasks in your business, and then once it's done, it's pretty much autopilot from that. Obviously, there are going to be some times where you're going to have to add a little bit of attention to it, but for the most part, you can have your subordinates actually providing the guidance to new hires as well and training new people along with your working procedures. Does that make sense? So All right, workforce task management apps, excuse me, can help with managing more complex teams. Many have integrated time tracking. A good resource, if you guys take a screenshot of this, there's a whole bunch of task management software and applications on this page. Again, I just really highly recommend, if you like Trello, which is what we have liked for a few years now, Flow is outstanding for it's what I call task management is something like Flow, because there's not a whole, or excuse me, like Trello, because there's not a whole lot of it's difficult in Trello to group more complex tasks together and to create like projects. In Flow, you have that ability, and you also have communication apps inside of Flow, and it's by the same developers as Slack. Anyways, I'm not here to pitch Flow. I'm just telling you that a task management app, in my opinion, and that's what I consider Trello, is something for like creating working procedures or delivering working procedures for very specific tasks. But a more higher level grouping structure, it would be like Flow, because Flow I can assemble or organize tasks into projects and that sort of thing. So that's all I'm saying. When you start to get more complex tasks, you might want to consider a more robust application. Okay. All right, we're going to keep moving. Scaling. This is the last module, guys. Scaling. Build project managers and team leaders, and building an organization. All right, you can see some of the frequently asked questions here. Project managers and team leaders. The difference here, guys, are project managers. I look at it this way. You hire a virtual assistant. You can promote them to team leader next, and then from team leader they can go to project manager. Because project manager it must have a good understanding of the bigger picture of your business. Like, where are you headed with your business? That's why I talked about in one of the first slides, hiring a general virtual assistant that becomes intimately familiar with your business operations. They ultimately can make the best project managers because they know what your business is about and what your overall goals are. Okay, and so project managers are somebody that would be like your right-hand man that can manage multiple teams, multiple projects at the same time. So they have to be high-level people, individuals, okay? And that's you can cultivate that, is what I'm saying. Okay, so they must have the ability to lead and or work under pressure. So again, that's one of the things you're going to want to ask them, is if they want the management, the responsibility of being a project manager, responsible for managing the team leaders, and then provides training and support to team leaders and reports directly to you, the business owner. Okay, a team leader, they're like directly underneath a project manager, but they still are the superior, the manager of other workers. Does that make sense? So team leaders knows working procedures well for tasks or group of tasks. In other words, they're really, really good at a particular task or series of tasks for like an overall project type thing. Responsible for managing VAs completing those tasks, provides training and support to those subordinates, their other virtual assistants, and reports directly to the project manager or directly to you, depending. It's not like I tell my team leaders, no, you can't talk to me, talk to the project manager. It's not like that, guys. Even my virtual assistants can contact me if they ever have an issue and they want to chat with me directly or privately, discreetly. That's an open door policy. They certainly can. But I certainly encourage them to approach their team leaders or project managers first. Does that make sense? Hopefully you guys get that. Next, building an organization. Start with the general VA. Working procedures should be well organized. Begin compartmentalizing processes into groups or projects. It's very, very important. Promote a general VA to a team leader or a project manager. Usually the natural progression is VA to team leader and then ultimately to project manager. It's entirely up to you how you want to promote when you start to build an organization, but that's how I recommend that you do it. Hire and train new VAs to complete projects, groups of tasks. Ask the existing employees for referrals. Guys, this is one of the ways that we've been able to hire probably the last, I don't know, 8 to 10 builders that we've hired for our IFTTT network building service and stuff like that have come from referrals, and which is great, guys, because think about it. Like once you start to develop a team, then you contact your team members and say, hey, look, I'm ready to hire again. I need to hire 2 or 3 more positions or whatever. Do you guys have anybody that you could refer, family members or friends that are looking for work that are capable of doing similar work to what you're doing that you could recommend? Here's why this is beautiful. Because now you don't have to worry about sending anybody through a hiring funnel. You still can, though. You can still have the recommended or the referrals go through the hiring funnel. In fact, I would encourage you to do so. But at the same time, you don't need to, because if they're referrals, that means you have an employee already that has vouched for them. So that puts pressure on that new hire to not make the person who referred them look bad, okay, for being unreliable or not performing well or whatever, and it puts pressure on the person that referred them to make sure that the new hire is getting the task completed right. So it helps to help that new hire get trained by the person that referred them, and it helps them to stay, you know, they help out with any problems up front, which will eliminate the additional stress on you or your team leader for having to work with the new hire, because the person that referred them, who's a family member or a friend, will most likely be closely working with them. Does that make sense? It's an efficient way to bring on new people. Okay? So asking existing employees for referrals is a great way to get high-quality employees, okay? And in turn, a hiring funnel back on if you need to, and promote the top performers to team leaders. So when you start to build an organization, as you start to build more and more virtual assistants, you want to take your top performers and promote them to team leaders so that they can manage your growing business, your growing virtual assistant base. And then scale, okay? That's really what's about scaling. Upwork, we talked about this earlier, and also this is it, guys. We're going to be done. This is the last slide. I know we went through that kind of quickly, but I wanted to get through it. It's a lot of slides. But people say, when should you start? I know we talked about that earlier, but there's another point I want to make, and then we're done. When should you start? Now. Guys, if you have positive revenue in your business at all, even if you're in the black or the red right now, you're losing money. If you're trying to build a business, I say try to hire as soon as possible so that you can start freeing up your time to work on higher level stuff. Guys, there's a difference between being productive and being busy. Okay, there's a difference. And I guarantee you, all of you are extremely busy, but some of you probably aren't very productive. And it has to be, most likely it's because you're buried in the minutia of the day-to-day grind, and you don't need to be. You should be focusing on higher level tasks. $10 an hour tasks should be done by $10 an hour people. What are you? If you're on this webinar right now, you're most likely a $250, $500 an hour person, but yet you're probably doing a lot of $10 an hour tasks. Stop that. Go hire somebody for $5 an hour or $4 an hour, whatever. Train them how to do those $10 tasks, and then you work on those $250 an hour tasks. That's how you're going to make money. So do it now. Don't wait. Do it now. Okay? Next, whenever moles pop up, guys, in the Work the System book, Sam Carpenter talks about how he was unable to scale his business because he was always putting out fires. He was always playing whack-a-mole. There was an issue would arise in the business that needed his attention, so he'd go drop everything he was doing, stop all the other stuff that he was working on to go attend to that issue. And then as soon as that issue was done, he'd try to go back and work on whatever the hell he was working on, and then another mole would pop up, another fire would start somewhere in the business that he'd have to go put out. And even me, guys, I don't drink my own Kool-Aid sometimes, in that over the last couple of years, even though we built a really big team, there's been a lot of times that problems have arisen that I have jumped in, rolled up my sleeves, and fixed, because it was the quickest, most efficient way to get something back on track, as quickly as possible. The problem is the next time that problem arises, who's left responsible for fixing it? Me, right? And so I'm not being efficient that way. So every single time you have a new issue arise in any one of your processes, guys, document the procedure of fixing it, resolving that issue, so that you only have to do it one time. Because after if you document that issue that you're resolving, the thing that you're solving, the problem that you're fixing, if you document that the first time you do it, then the next time it arises, you can hand it off to one of your VAs and say, go fix this. Here's the instructions on how to do it. And so now, every time a problem comes up, that's what I'm doing. And you might have been able to fix a problem within an hour, but because you're recording, documenting it, it takes you 3 hours. So be it. It's the last time you'll ever have to do it. Instead of the next 5 times it arises, you're going to spend 5 hours, an hour per time. Does that make sense? So just take the extra time to, whenever you're resolving an issue, to document it, because then you'll have that as like a troubleshooting guide for anybody in the future. All right? Wow, that was it. I need a drink. Do we have any questions? I know we got to go because we're way over, but is there anything like really pressing that I should address?
Looking through right now. Not at this time. A couple things we could address in the mastermind if we need to, but no, we're good.
Okay. Well, guys, I hope you found that useful. You know, we put a lot of time into this. If you really truly want to grow a business, like, this is the way to do it. You know, there's a ton of shiny objects that get you know, launched every day. There are tools that are supposed to help you automate your business and are supposed to make your job easier and send floods of traffic to your website in 24 hours and all this kind of bullshit. And I know all of us buy them because I do too. But if you want a real business, guys, there's nothing like having manual labor being done to work towards your goal and having other people do it for you. Because now, like, all the tools and all the shiny objects in the world aren't going to help you to actually build a real business. They're tools, but you have to treat them as such. Don't build your business entirely on the backs of specific tools, right? You should have people in place that are doing work for you, is my point, because then you can remove yourself from the business and it still makes you money. And if any of those tools stop working, or whatever, the loopholes that we exploit in the businesses that we're in, which we do it all the time, anytime those loopholes get closed, you still have a workforce that can adjust and adapt to any environment because you've trained them to do so. And that's how you can create a real business, guys. So I highly recommend that you go through the training. Take what you learned today and start applying it to your own business. If you want more, pick it up at outsourcekingpin.com. Okay? All right, I think we're done. I'm going to go ahead and click stop on this one. And any last questions, or are we good?
I think we're good to go.
Okay, guys. Well, everybody, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment on the event page. Let us know what you thought. If you have any questions, hit us up on Hump Day Hangouts or in one of our groups on Facebook or Google+. Okay? Thanks for everybody being here. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bye, everyone.